Our source water quality is actually quite exceptional. We have intakes here. The water goes through what are known as bar screens. They are rods that are put in the front of the intake structure here to protect the structure from things like large trees, large debris that could come into the facility. We have our rotating screens right there, and they're designed to remove things like leaves, twigs. The bar screens are run quite frequently in the springtime and during our runoff because we'll see more of that debris coming through. So we're in the raw water pump station right now. So this actually takes the water from the reservoir and actually pumps the water up the hill to the water treatment plant. We have 4 electric pumps and 2 turbine driven pumps. So the way it works with our turbines is for every 1 cubic meter of water we push up the hill, we're putting 2.5 cubic meters downstream. So basically what you're looking at right now is the pre-treatment process in water treatment. So we have that raw water that comes in, we add certain chemicals, things like aluminum sulfate, polymer, micro sand, and we do all of that because this process that we're looking at here is a ballasted flocculation system. We use all of that to start to make little clumps so that they'll start to settle out to the maturation tank. This is where we're really getting a lot of mixture. The water continues on and gets to the settling tank. So the water actually goes from the maturation tank over top of this weir wall. The water goes underneath there. The settling tank, the water gets pushed up, and you can see that those honeycomb style settlers, they're actually on an incline. So what happens is that as the water gets pushed up, those particles and silt, sand, and debris, they land in those tube settlers and they start to slide down into the settling tank. All of that makes its way to the center, and that silt and debris gets transferred over to our residual treatment facility. This is just removing turbidity. So the water then goes through what we call a clarified water basin, and it goes through a giant loop. And it just curves around over and over and over again. The intent of the clarified water basin is to allow for contact time with that disinfectant, that chlorine product. From there, that clarified water goes into our filter plant, which then leads to the next part of the process. So what you're looking at right now is one of our filter beds. So the water actually comes into the filters through these troughs. The water then spills over top and will make its way through the troughs, through the filter media into our clear wells underneath this building. The filter media is made up of sand and anthracite. The other thing with filter beds, just like anything else, it needs to get cleaned. We take the filter bed out of service, and then what we do is we use our clean water and air and push it through the bottom of the filter so that we can really churn it up. And then it comes up and out through a channel and then goes into our residual treatment facility where we remove all of that material, and all of the actual heavy material gets sent out to landfill, and the water that we use gets recycled and put onto the front end of our process. It looks very, very still because of the volume of water that's being processed. These beds are probably doing 10 to 11 million liters per day. So when we're washing that filter bed and all of that waste, the waste stream water from there goes into a channel, it comes here. So it's going to have some chlorine in it. It's going to have some polymer in it. It's going to have some alum in it. All those things. This water that's coming through on top of these troughs, that's actually water that we take and we reintroduce to the front end of our process. So we actually recycle our waste stream. So what it does is actually reduces the amount of water we have to withdraw from the river, which helps with environmental impact, energy use. We are now in the sodium hypochlorite facility. This is the product that we use to disinfect the water. The whole process starts with salt to make a brine solution. From there, the brine is then transferred over to our generators, and we use high voltage electricity to change the chemical composition of that salt water and make it into sodium hypochlorite. Now, a byproduct of making that sodium hypochlorite is hydrogen. The hydrogen is constantly being vented to atmosphere. From there, the finished sodium hypochlorite goes into our holding tanks, and then we use it for our pre-chlorine dosing, which comes right after our pre-treatment process. and on the back end of our process before it goes and leaves the plant and goes out to our distribution system. This is actually a fairly new process. This was actually put in place here in about 2008. Before then, the City of Calgary used was chlorine gas. Chlorine gas is actually a very, very dangerous product, and because of the design of our process, we don't require additional disinfection at this point. We want to make sure that that water is disinfected to the farthest parts of our drinking water system.